I dream without fear. I think you have to remember that those fears are natural for everybody. Dream without
To
fear.
all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Welcome to the Talk About the Magic podcast, where you'll find inspiration and encouragement tied together with the magic of Disney. Now, here's your host, Joseph Ballesteros.
What is going on, Magic Cheers? Welcome to another edition of Talk About the Magic. I'm excited that you've decided to join me today. Thank you so much for sharing some of your time with me and our guest today. I have a wonderful guest, Kimberly, who is rocking it right now. She has published one book, 2 books, and is working on 3 and 4. Really, really awesome. The book we're going to be talking about, her first book, which is called Positively Disney: Heartwarming Stories About Disney's Impact on People's Lives. Such a great read. I started reading it, and it blows me away, the stories of what you have here, and you realize how much Disney has affected people. Disney World and the parks has affected people in such a positive way, and that's really, really what I do love about the parks, despite the fact that sometimes they close rides we love. There's just something about the park that truly makes people experience something that's so wonderful. So I'm really excited to have her on today. Be sure to, of course, reach out and check out everything that we have in the show notes from her, so you guys can get your books as well, because like I said, it's just a good read. It makes you feel good. Definitely when you're done reading a chapter, you have a smile on your face. So that, to me, is a huge plus. Don't forget, of course, Talk About the Magic is sponsored by TalkAboutTheMagic.com, where you can find all the latest news regarding Disney, as well as our shop. Our shop right now has 4 designs up. I'm working on 2 more to get up there as well. Just having fun. I'm loving doing these shirts. So guys, be sure to check it out there. You can get your own shirt. And that's I think that's pretty much it. Let's get into today's show with Kimberly. Hello, Kimberly. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you, Joseph. I'm glad to be here.
I'm excited that you're on this show. You and I have talked in the past before, and I recently just got your book that I really was enjoying. And what's funny is, of course, we're going to talk about it. I'm going to let you talk about it. But I just love this idea. And to me, it's interesting because I'm like, this seems like such a simple idea, but I haven't come across anything like this. And so when I got your book and I was reading it, I was really just excited because I love this kind of reading. This is a very positive style reading. And of course, because it's dealing with Disney as well, we all kind of, at least here on the show and all the listeners, all love that side of it as well.
Yeah.
But before we get into all that, let's find out just a little bit more about you. Can you tell the listeners here who Kimberly is?
Who I am? Sure. Well, I'm a published author, and I'm actually a new podcaster. I'm an entrepreneur and an educator, and also a speaker. So I've kind of got a few different hats that I wear. Absolutely love my role as an author because I get to meet all kinds of people, both the contributors and people like yourself. So that's who I am, actually. And I'm originally from Canada and now reside in Washington State, and absolutely love it here and call both my countries home.
Awesome. Now, you do quite a bit. So how did you what was your kind of first thing that you got into? And then what is it that you think made you kind of start going out and doing even more? From being from being a speaker to being, of course, getting into the publishing with the books, and then now getting into the podcasting world. What was kind of your starting point, and what made you branch out even more?
Sure. Really my starting point was being a guest at the Disney parks. I've visited Disneyland Paris, Disneyland, and I'm a frequent visitor of Walt Disney World. And we had incorporated a lot of things in every trip that we took. We were very blessed. We've been there, I don't know, maybe 50 times now. But there were so many amazing, wonderful things happening to our family. And it made me start thinking, and I'm not just talking like an extra Mickey bar or something like that. I'm talking profound things that actually changed our life path. And I believe that the cast members, it's the guests, but the cast members, what they say and do makes such a difference. And sometimes it's so profound they wouldn't even know. And I thought, how can I let them know about the things that are happening, that the things that they are saying and doing, both in front and behind the scenes, that affect people. And then I thought, well, through that, through my visits and through the stories that I have, there are other people's stories of healing and hope and inspiration that I thought would be really nice to share with each other. So it started as a guest, and the seed for the first book actually was planted in 2001. When we were at Walt Disney World and caught an experience at the American Gardens Theater at the Pavilion in Epcot, and it was a river dance troupe, and our children just took to it. They were very young, but the ones that were old enough to remember, we were all amazed. And, we came back home. We had no idea what we were signing up for. And from that experience alone, our whole life changed. We have been Irish dancing for 14 years, travel the world, meet amazing people, see amazing things, all because of Disney. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There have been so many things that we have experienced that have been wonderful in our lives. So that's how it all started, actually.
Now, what I love about it, for those who are listening, guys, the book is called Positively Disney, heartwarming stories about Disney's impact on people's lives. And what I love about it is it has the same, kind of what you were mentioning right now, the same feel that same. It's doing what I wanted to do as well. I wanted to share the stories of people who don't get, quote unquote, a big spotlight on what they're doing. And in my case, it's people who are pursuing their dreams and passions. In your case, it's people who are changing literally lives. I mean, you're so right. There were so many instances where we saw cast members, just with a smile or just with the simple style of interaction with somebody at the park. Mm-hmm. I mean, it would change their day. You would see their day change. And so many of them, I'm pretty, I know a lot of cast members now that I've been doing this podcast, and I've been able to meet so many and say hello, and it's funny because even though they are aware that what they are doing is something that is to be taken serious, I still don't think they're truly aware of how big of an impact they're making. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Very true. And, I think that cast members are probably coming to the realization once they are in the parks and doing what they do the best, is that people attend for all kinds of reasons, Joseph. We have no idea what's going on in people's lives around us. And the very simple things of a smile or a hug could mean the world to somebody that maybe had just lost somebody or came through surviving a cancer battle, or who has a sick child or whatever. But everybody goes to Disney for a reason. Of course, there's the celebratory reasons, but there's also those reasons, as I mentioned, just celebrating the survival or a reprieve from the struggle of a disease or a family member, or to be just taking a break and reliving memories of loved ones lost or time lost,
For sure, yeah, definitely. And like I said, it's an amazing thing when you're able to see this kind of interaction. So how did you get into this? Because most people, with books, it's a tricky thing. There's a lot of resources online. You can technically make an ebook yourself. There's so many different things. How did you get into actually getting this book, number one, published, and then actually getting it, to write it out? Because I know for a lot of listeners, including myself, we definitely may not consider ourselves the best when it comes to, grammar and English and, typing an entire book. These books your book is not a 20-page book. It is a good sized book, which is good in that way. But, how was that experience? How did you get into that?
Well, it's been a kind of a culmination things. As a former teacher and English teacher, that kind of helped a little bit. And I'm actually very grateful that I can actually write a paragraph, to be honest with you, because people tell me that they don't know how. So, I think it was my desire to, and my passion really to reach out to people. And I had people actually coming to me with stories. And because they needed to be told, I thought, okay, well, we go through an interview process. And believe it or not, I write from my heart. So pen and paper are my friends. So I actually start with pen and paper. I transcribe the interview, and whatever they are telling me, I weave into a story with their theme. And then I edit it myself, but I do have a full team behind me. So once I actually write the story, I input it on the computer, and I go through a little bit of an editing myself. I'm not perfect, but I believe in excellence. And so then my publisher has a team of editors. It goes through 2 rounds of editing, and basically I have to approve or whatever I need to do along the way. I actually have a designer from New York that used to work for Nickelodeon, actually, and so she designs the covers. And the cover of the book, as you know, are Mickey ears, and the first one is the red spine, the red embroidery on there, and the second one is blue embroidery, blue spine in that. And I'm going to keep the continuity of that, but just change the colors. So the third edition will be the romance edition that I'm planning on having come out in February, and that's all pink. I've already got the cover already done for that one. But yeah, so it's just, my love for writing, my love for meeting people. I love people. Talking Disney, I mean, my goodness, you meet anybody talking Disney, you can talk all day, right?
Yeah, for
so
sure.
That's how it's done, really. Yeah.
And so how did you even get involved with a publisher? Was this something that you wrote to a publisher asking, hey, this is my idea, what do you think? Or did you send manuscripts, kind of like a rough script of what you had as an idea? Or was it just one of those things where you kind of run into somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody?
Well, you know what? So I am indie published,
Okay.
which is very different from self-published, actually. Indie published, you have to go through quite a rigorous process, not only from the interior setup team, cover team, acquiring ISBN number, Library of Congress number, which Library of Congress numbers, they don't always accept your book into the Library of Congress, but lucky for me, they've actually accepted all my books into the Library of Congress. And then it goes out for editing, and each round of editing is about 3 weeks. So it's quite a long process, and I get the final say whether I like the way it's set up or something like that, which I really believe it's a reflection on myself when I am putting something out publicly. So I'm very grateful to be able to have a great publisher that we work together on the books and making sure it's to my standard, as they have a very high standard as well. So very grateful for that.
That's awesome. So, what have been some of the frustrations that have come along the way when you started to do this? When you were doing your first book, for instance, what were some of those frustrations that maybe you didn't think were going to be there, and all of a sudden they start popping up, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is not as easy as I was hoping. What are some of those instances?
Well, I think I was quite surprised about the process after it was written. It's literally the tip of the iceberg. You have written your manuscript, but oh my word, there is so much more to it than that. So I think it wasn't so much frustration, but surprise that, holy cow, this is taking a lot longer. And once you have your manuscript done, you just want to get it out there now. It's kind of like that perfect Christmas present that you found that you just can't wait for Christmas to arrive, for that person to open. And I was feeling the same way. I felt the same way with both books. And so that was more, frustration on my part, just wanting it to be out there now. But it takes like about 3 more months after you've written the manuscript and submitted it, actually, for it to be ready. So, yeah.
Wow. That's something and that's something I struggle with. It's because, like you said, I want it out now, and you feel like I'm ready to go, and no, it's best to wait sometimes, at least. So, and then, doing that, being that you had these kind of interviews, how did you actually get in contact? Was it something that you reached out to different people? Did you just kind of put up an ad saying, "Hey, I'm collecting stories for a Disney book. Does anybody want to kind of jump in there?" Or did you just do research online and discover stories that way? How are you doing this?
You know what? It's many different ways. Believe it or not, I have people introducing me to other people. So I also find stories. I'll come across various stories, like the fellow that just did his 2000th consecutive visit at Disneyland. I just interviewed him Saturday for the book that will be out December 2018. So different things come across my way via media or social media. I was actually introduced to a former animator at a dance competition, an Irish dance competition, and then I, did put out, if anybody's got different stories they'd like to share. And I've had people email me. So it's really the culmination of all of those that I get my stories. And I know that I'm missing a ton of stories. And actually, that's why I created the podcast, the Positively Disney Phone-In podcast, because there's so many people that have these amazing stories to share. And there's just like a little blurb that they might write on one of the Disney Facebook pages. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice for them to actually be able to phone in and share that story? So that's where that idea brought me it was a natural progression, really, in acquiring stories, sharing stories, and meeting people.
That's awesome. I mean, and we're definitely going to get into that as well because I guess let's get into it now. You actually have started to do that as well, and you just recently started doing that and doing a Facebook Live video. How has your experience been? This was new for you. I remember when we were talking about it. You were a little concerned because this was a whole new kind of world you were getting into. But it's been really great. I've been watching really great so far. And so, but how has your experience been? How doing that?
Well, all I can say is, first of all, I'm really grateful for my family, because without my family, I wouldn't have been on there. So it's absolutely been fantastic. When I've told people, about the podcast, that it's a live podcast, it's a phone-in show, recorded, all that, they're like, what? You did a live? I think I probably did the most technically difficult thing to do, but I never really thought about it. It's just I wanted to do that. Yeah. But, as I said, my family has been a big support of mine from the get-go, and this podcast is no different. And our daughter, who is in interior design, studies that, and architecture, designed the background for me, because we have, of course, lots of Disney memorabilia and special things. My middle guy is a really amazing artist, and so he designed the logo, and he's doing a few other things for me on the side. And then my youngest, who's 17, thank goodness for teens, he's my techie guy, so he set it all up. And I did meet with some podcasters, some friends of my husband, just to make sure that we were on the right track as far as getting things set up, because it's quite a lot to mind, really, when you're not only taking phone calls live, but you also have the messages, that you're trying to deal with, and trying to remember, different things that you want to share. And the first time I thought I could do it without my glasses. And I felt so bad because I was missing all these comments and that. And I was putting my glasses on, and it was a bit silly. And I thought, okay, you know what, whatever. I just have to fight that denial and put my glasses on so that I could communicate, various ways with people. But I absolutely love it. And, I will share with you, because people don't know this, but the first time out, we had a run through on the Wednesday previous, and a computer got switched out because my computer wasn't strong enough. And so, believe it or not, it was during finals for college for my sons. And so my one son, who's my tech guy, finished his work at noon, and we were 45 minutes out, and we were still having some technological difficulties, and I was kind of freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, we've got to go live. What's going to happen? I've got one chance to make a good first impression, And so the timer was counting down, and I'm like, okay, just have 4 minutes, that's 2 minutes, and then bam, we were on. And most people don't know that how stressed I was like the moment before, because it was scary. I have to say that I did go out of my comfort zone a bit. I know a few hours before I had put up on some Facebook pages that I was really excited, but I was a little bit nervous too, because this was oh boy, as you know, it's a whole other ball game. And then to have it live and phone in, I was hoping and praying people would be able to phone in, too.
Yeah, it's a scary thing. That's what I had told you. That's what I personally find frustrating with Facebook, because of the fact that you can go live, and even though you've been live for 10 minutes, Facebook will still show the little, sign says, "Hang on, we're telling people about you." And it's like, but I'm almost done with my show already. Why are you telling people? It's too late.
Oh, yeah.
So, but it was really good. Like I said, I was able to watch, and you come on, and it's every Monday, correct?
It is Monday from 6 to 6:30-ish, because I say that because the first show ended up going till 7. And this is Pacific Standard Time. Now, the last one before the summer is Monday, July 3rd. And then we will be coming back Monday, September 18th. So this was sort of the pilot, although I knew that I was going to continue after, but I needed to just get these 4 in a row knocked out. And it has just been really fun seeing the number of views and the number of people listening. And we're going to change it just a teeny bit on Monday, where we can give people an alert that I will be live, because some people can't find me. And I'm very prompt. I don't just start at 6 and say, oh, well, we're going to wait for a few other people to go on. I'm very prompt and just go on and start talking. And I felt really bad. There was a couple that had joined me, I think the last 5 or 8 minutes of the show. And but I did end it at 6:30-ish. And so, I at least people can watch it as it's recorded. And we're going to be popping it up on YouTube and a few other different areas as well. So that's good. More people can see me and find me.
So what would you then recommend for somebody who's getting into, let's just focus on one. We'll focus on the book, as far as, maybe they have an idea, they want to kind of, they've been knocking around in their head, they have a topic. What is something that you would suggest, like, as far as maybe the first thing they need to do? Because I know there's so, like, again, this is what I love about the time that we're living in right now. It's so unique. And last week I had Fred on the show, and something I mentioned, I talked with my wife, and I explained to her, like, we truly don't know what it's like to grow up in this time frame. Like when we were in the 90s, we never had, like, my parents with cell phones and everything, in nothing compared to the way it is now with iPads, iPhones, and easy right away apps that can do this. You can get if you don't have a car, you can Uber. If you need to order something, you can now get it at Amazon and get it 2 hours later. Like, this is a whole different world now, that we were living in, just 15 years ago. So a lot of people, the good thing about that, of course, though, is it does really give you so much more access to create or to do something that maybe you're interested in doing. So what would be something that you feel, if somebody has an idea, let's say when it comes to doing a book or even an ebook, just simply online or something, what would be something that you would recommend to them to kind of start out?
Sure. Well, the first thing I would do is make a plan. Jot down your ideas, and it's amazing. Actually, that's actually scientific. When you have pen to paper, that the creative side of you starts to develop. It's not through the keyboards. It's through pen and paper. Believe it or not. I don't know what it is, the neurological thing behind it, but I do know about that. And so I would just start jotting down things, getting an idea of what you want to tell people, what you want to share with people, what your audience will be. Another thing, because we are in this age, make sure that you are either tech savvy or you have somebody in your family or a friend nearby that can help you, because, oh my gosh, I've had to learn a lot. I don't know all of it at all, and dread the day that I have to set everything up myself, but that won't be for a while. So, those two things, definitely get your idea on paper and keep a notebook by your bed, because you never know when those ideas are going to strike you. And often I've been jumping out of bed in the middle of the night, like I wrote a speech at 3 this morning because I just kind of came to me. So just keep that handy. Make a point of setting a goal in the sense that, okay, when do you want to have this book published? Also, then count back. I'd say give yourself 3 months to count back from the moment you finish your book to having it released, and then go from there. So really also take a week at a time to also create some goals for yourself. I really, truly, I do something every single day with my books, with the podcast, with whatever. And if you continue that, it becomes a habit. And it's very important not to let life get in the way of what your dream of writing is about. I'm a mom first. That always has come first. But I guarantee you that I always take some time for myself to write, to focus on my stories, to focus on the book. So definitely I would think about those three things.
Yeah, and that's a really good thing you said there. It's really important, that something that I'm trying to work on too. Because I personally, have, of course, the podcast and the website, all this stuff, and I've kind of tried to make it a point where I say, okay, and just recently, that's what's funny when we do these kind of shows, or if I talk to people when they're asking, hey, how do you think this should happen? I'm still always learning something new, and only recently did I realize that, I'm still not doing it right. And something that I hadn't been doing is exactly what you just said when it comes to the book, which is I hadn't given myself a true date of wanting to accomplish something, by a certain time. It was more of a, well, let's see what happens. And unfortunately, that really took a lot of time away from me, because I was basically distracting myself over and over. And so just not until recently I said, okay, I need to really sit down and say, what's my goal? What's my plan? When do I want to get there? And so something that I've started doing, just like you just said, is I said I'm going to work on the site at least once a day, at least. And it's nothing big. I'm not saying I have to do a big overhaul. It could be something as, maybe doing research for it, maybe trying something new out. But it needs to be something that's getting me closer, because, for me right now, in my situation, I'm working because I have to work. That's not, but that's not my goal. I want to, I have t-shirts I'm doing. I have all these, the website and everything. I want to make this sustainable for myself. And I understand it's possible, but it's going to take a tremendous amount of work and potentially time. And so I have to prepare myself for that, and be willing to make that, daily sacrifice of at least one. And then eventually, hopefully, doubling up and trying to do more and more. And I think what you're saying is so true, because a lot of us, we get very excited. We give it our all for about, 5 days, and then we're like, okay. And it's like, no. Now you gotta keep on. Even if it's just one little thing, you have to keep on going toward it. So, I mean,
absolutely,
like you just said. So, the book itself, being that you have two, you're already working on a third. Obviously, and
the fourth.
Oh my goodness! And the fourth.
I just can't. You know what the problem is. So, the third book, being the romance edition, is all the weddings, anniversaries, engagements, that kind of honeymoons. And then when I come across these other stories not related to that theme, I'm like, oh my gosh! And at one time, I was like, oh, I can't even look. I can't collect that. But you know what? I'm like, forget this. I've got to collect those while I can, because they're not going to come around. It's timing. And so I have, so I'm kind of doing both at the same time, because it's hard to let a good story go. That's okay. Well, you're working on 2 other books already. So I'm like, you're doing now that, and it wasn't overnight. And had you not been working on it, obviously it would have never come to fruition. So, I think that's something we have to remember. Even if it's one little thing, we have to keep doing it as hard as it might feel or seem. Absolutely, perseverance. And there's some days that you're quite tired, but it's still nice to just do, as you said, a little something. Sometimes it's baby steps, sometimes it's leaps and bounds. But when I get people telling me about what they think about the stories, or come up to me in public places. I've had a few come up to me and tell me how my stories have affected them. Oh my gosh, it's kind of like a boost to everything, and the reason why you're doing it. And so it also it just helps you. Not that I need inspiration, but it just helps you realize that, gosh, what you're doing is making a difference, and it's important. But it's also my passion, and people have asked me, well, how do you find your passion? Because when you find your passion, you will find your purpose. Truly, I believe that. And I've always had an interest in writing. I've been writing stories since I was 6 years old, actually. Wow. And then, as an educator for years and years, an English teacher and all that, it's very interesting how the culmination of my life has led me to this point. But it's really important to remember that to have that goal and write it out, plaster it on your closet or your bathroom mirror or whatever. And just, it's there. It's a daily reminder. And to try to pinpoint some time during the day, even if it's an hour, just say, okay, I'm going to dedicate an hour to this project or whatever. It's as simple and basic as that. But there's a lot of people that they want to do something and they want to achieve something and they have it in their mind, but it truly has to be written down so you see the visualization of it.
Very true. Yeah, I've started doing that too. We have my little calendar here that I have, and I write down what it is I'm wanting to do, what I want to accomplish by when, and it does help. Yeah. If all else, it helps literally as just the reminder. Like sometimes you get lazy and you're just watching Netflix, and then you realize, wait, I forgot I got to do this today. So sometimes it's just good just to have it as even just a reminder. So this, like I said, I'm excited because it's incredible. You're definitely doing quite a bit, and the story, the book, like I said, it's really cool to read all of these different stories and see the impact that Disney has, and it's perfect timing now to go into our Disney Power Round.
And now it's time for the Disney Power Round, where we talk favorite parks, tips, and tricks for your magical Disney trip. Let's bibbity bobbity do this.
So I always got to find a transition point for it, and I'm like, okay, I think this is a good one. So, all right. What is your favorite park and one thing you love about it?
I'm old school. It's got to be Magic Kingdom. Has to be Magic Kingdom. What do I like about it? Walking down that nostalgic Main Street USA is my impression. It's got it. Yeah, it's my favorite.
For sure. It definitely is fantastic. I love Main Street. And again, unless you are visiting the park itself, I think it's really hard to explain it because there's just something about it. There's no rides. There's no, there's not even really any main characters there. You don't really see walking around. You'll see them walking around, but not so much meet and greets. It's just literally an experience in itself, from the train to the smells to the sounds, and of course a lot of people, of course, laughing and having fun there.
Yeah.
So what would be your tip for that first time Disney goer?
The first time Disney goer, read up as much as you can for tips. I know before we first started bringing our children there, and our oldest was only 14 months old, and we had actually been there a couple of times also when I was pregnant with our other two, and we had 3 in strollers. And I took out every library book. We didn't have ebooks back then, and looked at tips because it really, really will help you as far as figuring out, take an early lunch, avoid the lunch crowds. The Epcot ball, you want to do that later in the afternoon where there are no lines. People stop there immediately, going even a certain direction in the park. Different rides, must-see rides and things like that. It just gather information because that will just make your time so much more pleasant. And the number one tip I would give people is get there before the park opens, before the rope drops, because it's so nice. And then if it's, particularly Florida, it's really hot in the afternoon, you can go back to your hotel resort and take a break. The second thing I just want to let people know about that I swear, because we had 3 kids in strollers and we would go 15, 16 hours, Joseph, and we wouldn't have a problem. Yeah. But you know what? I always had little sandwiches, little snacks, juice boxes, that kind of thing packed. I say to the people, I kept my kids well watered and fed, and they never cried. If they needed a nap, we just stopped and they had a nap. We people watched, but it was, really pleasant. So do your homework. It's don't just go and say, oh, I'm going to wing it, because you'll miss a lot and you just won't make the most of your Disney experience.
And I like that. That's a very good point. Going early actually lets you leave to take a little break. I mean, it's so true. Taking a break from the park is a really benefit, really, because you're able to take a break from the heat, kind of recharge your batteries, take a nap, go swimming, just to relax a little, and then go back really strong. So, yeah, very true. Going in early actually helps with that for sure.
I remember a few times, I don't know how old our kids were. They were old enough that they weren't napping, but I would be just like, okay, we're coming back for a couple of hours. We close the curtains. It's like whether you sleep or not is another thing, but we are taking a rest because we have a really late night. And so we've done Disney pretty hard with our kids. But, forcing everybody to have an hour of dark silence. Napping is really the ticket. I'll tell you, those people out there that have kids, and it doesn't matter how old you are. Like, just take if you can take that break, then you get that energy. And you could always tell the people the evening that have had a rest during the day.
Very true. Exactly. Yes, you definitely can tell. That's so true. So, what would be your tip then for somebody who goes to the park multiple times?
People that have gone multiple times, I would have them actively seek out probably something new to do. And also, even as simple as riding the monorail around, visiting the resorts, something that maybe you wouldn't do normally. I know for us, we've been trying to get into the Keys to the Kingdom tour for 10 years because we had to wait for our youngest to be old enough. And then at Christmas, we couldn't get in. So actually, we are going to be doing that on our trip at the end of August. And I would say actively seek out those different things. Look at on the internet about the events and different activities they have, because there's things that most people don't even realize. And I was actually speaking about a couple of them on my last podcast, where it was my 10th anniversary, and I did Dolphins in the Depth. It was an encounter with the dolphins at the Living Seas, and that's something you don't see really advertised, I don't think, but oh my gosh, it was the greatest experience. And there's surf lessons at Typhoon Lagoon, and there's horseback riding at Fort Wilderness, and there's just so many other things to do besides visiting the parks,
Yeah, for sure. And we still haven't discovered that ourselves. We still, when we go, we always try to find something new, and there's still so much there. And of course, they're always changing so many things at Disney, so there's always something new to experience for sure. So, Kimberly, before we start wrapping up here, I do want to give you some time to let people know where they can find out more about you, let them know about the show, let them know about the books, let them know about everything that you want them to know about Kimberly.
Okay. Well, I do actually have a website, and it's thepositivelydisney.com is the website. If you are on Facebook and you find Positively Disney, there's a few people that have Positively Disney, but you'll see me because you'll see the book on there. And that's where you actually would be able to link into the podcast. As well, if anybody wants to friend me on my Disney profile page, you will see Kimberly with an L-E-Y, Bouchard, and you'll see me standing there with Donald Duck, who is my favorite, actually. You can follow me there a little bit and kind of get updates on different things, as well as the books. And the books are presently available on Amazon, and you are able to order them through any local bookstore as well. From Ingram Books is the largest wholesaler, so if they order from Ingram, which I think it's the largest one in North America, you can actually purchase a book through your local bookstore if you want to support them as well. But yeah, on Amazon you can find my books. And the podcast, again, is 6 to 6:30 Pacific time. I really wanted to get across North America. I feel bad for the UK people, but Australia is still good at that time. And so Monday evenings. And it will also be on YouTube for those people that don't have Facebook, because there are some people that don't have Facebook, actually. So we are going to be allowing sort of a bigger audience to access the podcast itself. So that's awesome. Where you can find a little bit about myself.
That's awesome. And of course, guys, we will have all of that information in the show notes, so please be sure to check that out. Reach out to Kimberly, check her out on the show, read the books. I mean, it's awesome. And this is, I love bringing guests on here, for you, Magic That way you guys can follow along and see what they're doing and learn from them, get inspiration from them, get encouragement, and then also just simply to support them, because that's the best way that we can encourage one another, by supporting. And it's not always just financing. It's supporting by, showing up, by sharing the program, by, telling other people about the book. Doing these kind of things really help, all the guests that we've had, to continue on, because that's exactly how you can help in those kind of ways, by getting the word out. So I personally want to thank you, Kimberly, for coming on. I had a great time with you being on. Time literally flew by. I'm so surprised at how fast this has gone. It feels like we've only been talking for like 15 minutes.
I know. It's been wonderful. And I should also let people know that if they want to email me with a story or just to say hello, my email is Kimberly, again with the Ley. Thanks, Mom and Dad. At positivelydisney.com. So it's Kimberly at positively.disney.com. They can reach me that. But Joseph, it's always a pleasure to speak with you, and so glad that you are doing what you're doing, because it is about the magic. It is about that positivity, and especially in this world that we live in, it's so important to be able to share that with others.
Definitely, and I love doing it. And as long as I can keep bringing people on like you onto the show, I will continue doing it.
That's great.
Before we do sign off here, Kimberly, I like to let the guests on every show just leave some encouragement, some inspiration. A lot of listeners may be at that point. They might be just right at that point where they can either do it or just fall back and stay where they are in their comfort zone. Maybe they're really thinking about trying to make a change as far as to pursue their passion. And something I always bring up, because I don't want pressure on the listeners. I want them to understand, when we're talking about pursuing your dream, your passion, it's not necessarily just you need to quit your job and change your entire lifestyle. It could be something as small as, I'm going to make it a goal to lose 15 pounds. I'm going to make it a goal to read with my kids every night. I'm going to make it. These are things that, even though may not seem huge to us, they're really big for in the long run. They really can change not just ourselves, but our surroundings, whether it's our family or children or anything like that. And even more so, it's the fact that you are pushing yourself out of this comfort zone, and eventually you can actually start maybe taking even bigger steps toward a different style of lifestyle that you may want, or a job that you're trying to achieve. So, I always like to let the guests come on and share something that they feel, could help. So please, Kimberly, just whatever it is you feel in your heart, let the listeners know, give them some encouragement and inspiration for this week.
Sure. Well, I will tell you, to pursue your dreams, it's not easy. It takes a lot of courage, but your dreams can come true. I remind myself when I get a little bit scared, like the first podcast, and even a little trepidation on the other podcast, I dream without fear. I think you have to remember that those fears are natural for everybody. Dream without fear. And, Walt said it so brilliantly when he said, all our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. And it's really true. It takes courage to pursue your passions. But you are stronger and have more going for you than most people or you would give yourself credit for. It's amazing what you can accomplish, just one person. I have been so blessed and privileged to have been able to write and continue to write these books. And it has become such a passion of mine that I wish I could do it 24/7. But of course, I don't forget the fact that despite my podcast, despite my books, despite my speaking engagements, my biggest accomplishment is my children. It's my family. And I don't lose sight of that. And I think if people realize that, don't forget about those most important things, because that has to be okay before you can pursue your dreams and your passions. So think of it as you are climbing a mountain, and that base camp has to be settled. It has to be okay for you to reach the different steps. And sometimes you feel like you're going back, and sometimes you're really scared to see what's on the other side. When I first released my book, I was scared. I didn't know how it would be received. But you have to trust and have some faith, and it's the courage to continue to move on and take those little bits of inspiration when people compliment you or say, hey, I really like what you did, or you're really good at it. Take that and use that to garner more courage to reach that summit.
I love that. Dream without fear. That's amazing. I'm gonna put that on a shirt for sure. I love that. That's so true. Everything you're saying there, and very true, Kimberly. As far as, yes, we have that natural fear that is within everybody. There's always a fear.
Mm-hmm.
You mean even getting on something that you've never gotten on before. To put it in Disney terms, you're getting on maybe mine trains. Right? You feel that weird little butterfly in the stomach, and you're like, you know what? Maybe I should just walk out here instead. But it's important to push past that, because once you do, it can really change an entire perspective. And even if it ends up not working out, at least you gave it your all, and you say, okay, this ended up not being for me. And so, right. Yeah, that's so true. And I love that. Dream without fear. That's awesome.
Oh.
So thank you again, Kimberly, for coming on, for sharing your time, sharing your journey with us, with me and the listeners here today. And I would really appreciate if you would just join me in our signing off of the show. All I need you to do is just say one word at the end, or two words, I guess, which is stay magical. Okay? All right.
But thank you so much for having me, Joseph. It's been a real pleasure.
No, pleasure is mine for sure. Thank you so much for coming on. So, guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys have a great night, day, weekend, whenever you're listening to this. And as always,
stay magical.
This was the Talk About the Magic podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to rate, subscribe, and share with a friend. Thanks for listening, and as always, stay magical.